try spinning. That's a good trick.
Get this guy off my tail!
Hey guys, it was the 4th of May just recently, and originally I wanted to do a little video on a Star Wars video game. You know, follow my little tradition here on this channel and make a video about a classic Star Wars game. But due to a bunch of people at work being sick, I am unfortunately late to the party. Last year we took a look at Star Wars Bounty Hunter, a classic game that I love till this day. It has an amazing story, and visually it is also not pure eye cancer, even for modern viewers. Today's game, however, has not aged so well. The game in question, Star Wars Starfighter. And if the game is not so amazing, why are we taking a look at it? Well, simply because of nostalgia, and up until recently I never managed to finish it. So when I stumbled across it on Steam for just a few bucks, I thought, okay, I want to finish this game, finally. Many years ago I had a copy of it for the PlayStation 2. In fact, it was one of my first PS2 games. Back in 2001, the visuals were great and I enjoyed the game tremendously. But I could never beat it. One day, I borrowed it to a friend from school. A few weeks later, he gave it back to me. Completely destroyed. Unplayable. Completely wrecked. The CD was covered in glue and ripped apart tissues. Apparently, he scratched the CD so badly that the game didn't work anymore. He tried to cover it up by filling the scratches with liquid glue and then wiping off the excess glue with paper tissues. His plan didn't work out. The CD was covered in glue and paper. Instead of admitting what he had done, he just gave the game back to me without mentioning the fucked up CD inside. And when I confronted him about the game being completely messed up, he denied it. I don't know if it has gotten any better, but back then, he was a massive idiot. And in the end I got my money back, and I think I spent it on some other game. But well, that's the story of how I never got to finish Star Wars Starfighter. And now, many years later, on the PC, I finally managed to finish the game.
We don't need you shooting at us too!
So now that the story time is over, let's talk about the actual game. Star Wars Starfighter is an arcade-style flight game similar to the Rogue Squadron games, but with less charm. The game begins shortly before the events of Star Wars Episode 1, and is thereby already in critical territory for many fans.
Dallows? Reese Dallows? Sleeping on the job already, eh?
The story revolves around three main characters who find themselves in an unexpected alliance against the Trade Federation. We've got Reese Dallows, a pilot for the Naboo Royal Fighter Corps, Vanna Sash, a mercenary, and Nim, a pirate. All of them screwed over by the Trade Federation at some point. Dallows' commander, for example, has been killed by a mercenary working for the Trade Federation, and therefore he kind of wants to take revenge.
Bravo 7, I need your help. I can't shake this one.
I'll get it, Bravo 10.
Let me put a stop to your evil efforts.
What?
Sorry, no!
Now it's your turn.
The playable characters and ships change with each mission. Reese Dallows, for example, fights in a classic Naboo N1. Vanna Sage's ship is more of an interceptor-type fighter, and Nim's ship is a bomber that excels in a ground attack role.
These turrets are all we have.
The game takes you to a variety of places and environments. As you could have guessed by the description of Nim's bomber, the game not only takes place in space, but also inside the atmosphere of planets such as Naboo, where you will engage in classic aerial combat, but also in air-to-ground combat like destroying enemy gun emplacements, troops and infrastructure. The latter objectives are key to the story, which involves the three protagonists trying to weaken the Trade Federation's forces on Naboo by interrupting their supply lines. Especially after the Disney takeover of the Star Wars franchise, the game is of course not canon, and it takes some liberty in adding new vehicles and story elements to the expanded universe.
Almost everyone's in camps. A few hundred police and guards have formed an underground resistance movement. I brought back as many of the leaders as I could.
The resistance cells that were briefly mentioned in The Phantom Menace get a little more exposure, as the final missions revolve all around helping them evacuate civilians, defend their base and ultimately destroy a droid control ship in the orbit of Naboo. The missions feature various objectives and locations. The rather boring opponents provided by the Trade Federation are mixed up by bounty hunters and mercenaries here and there and make the game more fun, because especially on higher difficulties, battles against endless waves of droids can be exhausting.
More scarabs arriving.
Here are some points of negative criticism about this game. The reliance on in-game conversations between characters to further the story is a bit problematic here and there. These can be easily missed when you are being hit by enemy fire right in that moment when important plot points are being discussed. But the mission's objectives are so easy to understand that you can even play the game without paying attention to the story at all. The sometimes imprecise controls tend to shake around violently, especially in claustrophobic environments, and only get worse when you come under fire. This is what happened to me multiple times while fighting in the inside of the droid control ship, just like in the end of episode 1.
Whoa! Whoa! That droid just took my wing! My lasers are overheating.
Wrench!
The shaking becomes so extreme the game becomes unplayable. You cannot control the ship anymore until you, well, eventually just crash somewhere and die. And you have to restart the whole level.
Now this is pod racing.
Yeah, this is the one major flaw in the last level that makes it, well, quite tedious to play. Which brings me to my final point. The last mission too closely mimics the final battle of episode 1. Which comes across as a little uninspired and brings back memories of these amazing scenes. Apart from these small issues, the game is a fun diversion that proves to be about 6 hours of fun. For the low price, a good deal when you are a Star Wars fan and like Starfighter games. The game's playtime can even be expanded a bit more due to its unlockable bonus missions that add some replayability value to the main campaign to unlock those. If you're looking for a deep story and overwhelming graphics, or at least graphics that hold up to today's standard, then look somewhere else. For an early PS2 era game, not bad, but without the Star Wars theme this game would be rather forgettable. The game draws from the vast amounts of original Star Wars sound effects and original music and thereby sounds amazing, which gives this little arcadey game a great atmosphere. So for real Star Wars fans who enjoy games like Renegade Squadron and can tolerate the prequel setting, this is a recommendation. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to have a look at one of my absolute favorite Star Wars games of all time, check out my video about Star Wars Bounty Hunter. I totally love that game. And tell me what you think about today's game. Have you played Star Wars Starfighter? And about my broken copy of the game, what do you think could be done about it? Is there a smart way to disguise scratches in a CD? Tell me in the comment section down below. So, see you guys next time. Till then, have a nice day and as always, goodbye and guten Tag. P.S. The Pirates bomber from Star Wars Starfighter, the Havoc, is available for X-Wing, a Star Wars tabletop game. Kind of cool.